Welcome back to the Retro Craptacular podcast, where each month we continue our search for the best bad movies on the planet Earth. I am your host, Aaron, and I am joined, as always, by Matt.
Hello, Aaron.
Hello, Matt.
How's it going?
Oh, I am so good. So good. Do you want to know why?
I do want to know why. Why are you so good, Aaron?
Because it's only supposed to hit 27 degrees today.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. As opposed to the 46 degrees or whatever it hit last week.
Yeah, it's horrifying what's been going on over there in BC.
We set a new record for heat in Canada. 46.6 degrees in Lytton, BC, and shortly afterwards the entire town burned to the ground.
Yep.
So that's
horrifying.
I shouldn't laugh. That's not a joke. Literally the entire town burned to the ground.
Yeah, we laugh because we don't know how to react to that kind of information. Literally the earth got too hot that a city died.
Yeah.
In flame.
Yeah.
Like uh-oh.
It's
inevitable heat death of the world.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of charities that you can donate to if you feel so inclined to support the people of Lytton. I think the Red Cross is doing a lot of stuff, so yeah.
For sure, yeah, go do that.
That if you have the means
needs help.
to do that, yeah, please absolutely do. Yeah. Can't really complain, you know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was hot. Yeah, I was uncomfortable, but, you know, I still have my house.
Mm-hmm.
So
legit. Ooh, where do we take the podcast from here, Aaron? Really started off on a particular note.
Yeah. So we had a heat wave. That's fun. Usually you're the one complaining about heat, but we literally set a heat record, so you can't even be like, well, actually in Ontario it's hotter than the devil's anus. Which it usually is.
Yeah, I mean, usually. But it's... right, I think today we're, like, on par with with heat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like what we were? Like, in the 40s? Or, like...
No, like, today our weather, our max is about the same.
Oh, okay, sick. That's good, then. That's... You can... Yeah. It's weird. After experiencing that level of heat, it's like... I'm like, nothing feels hot anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I'm really interested to... Well, I'm going to be coming back to BC. Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Coming back.
Coming back. And I'm really interested to see if my thoughts on summer change. Because I've always hated summer, but now I've experienced Ontario summer, and it's way worse.
Yeah, Ontario summer sucks, man.
It's like being out in the desert, just smothered by a wet blanket, and the wet blanket is fresh from like an oven.
Yeah, like I'd almost rather be in the desert, because at least in the desert you're dry.
Yes, the dry is the good part. Ontario is so moist.
Yeah, that was the one nice thing about our heat wave, is we actually didn't hit like too high on the humidity. Like, you'd step outside your house and it'd be like a wall of heat. It's like the way I could explain to people is like, you know, when you're like baking like a lasagna or something and you open your oven to look at it and that wall of heat hits you, it's like that.
Except the earth is the oven.
Yeah, the earth is the oven and you are the lasagna. But yeah, it was crazy. You'd like step outside your house. Like, I stepped outside to, have a little puff on my vape at about 10:30 at night.
As you do?
Yeah, I got a little weed pen that I use sometimes, especially when it was hot. I needed help sleeping.
Oh, fair. Yeah.
Hit the weed pen a little bit, and yeah, it was like you step outside and it's like, oh no, it's like it's still fully warm out here.
Yeah.
And the only other place on this earth that I've experienced that is Las Vegas.
Right.
Which is a city in the middle of the desert.
Yep. Man, that's
the only other place I've experienced that. Yeah. But it was a good excuse to stay inside and watch a lot of movies. So that's what I did.
Hell yeah. What kind of movies you watch, bud?
Oh, what a segue. Do you see that?
You nailed it. Smooth as butter. I love it how anytime any one of us does a decent segue on the show, we immediately point it out. Which, yeah, it does ruin it. But at least, at least we're celebrating our victories. That's important.
Exactly. No one's gonna celebrate you except you.
That's sad. So, what did you watch?
Keep that crown pointed up, King. I watched.
What the fuck?
I don't know. I watched Bo Burnham's new Netflix special, Inside.
Oh, I still haven't seen that. It's been recommended to me by so many people.
It is really, 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 really fucking good.
Oh, man.
For like a number of reasons. Like, I've been like a somewhat fan of Bo Burnham.
Okay.
I was probably late to the game. Like, I didn't start watching him when he was on YouTube and stuff like that because I was like not a teenage girl, which like seemed to be his primary audience when he started his career.
Oh, is he cute?
He's cute and he sings little funny songs and he's a little offbeat.
Sounds right up my alley.
Plus, he started doing it when he was like 16, so he was like in their age range, so he was like an attainable crush kind of in a way.
All right.
I think was the thinking behind that. But yeah, so I kind of got into him a bit later once he started doing his Netflix specials.
Cool.
And I've enjoyed most of those, but like I'm not really like a huge comedy song kind of guy. Like, don't get me wrong, I used to love Weird Al when I was a kid, but like I don't, I haven't thrown on Just Eat It in a dog's age. So
I think it's a lot harder to appreciate that medium when you are a musician, to be honest.
Really? You think that's what it is?
That's what I found too, where I'm like there's nothing funny about this chord progression. Like, this is a uninteresting pop chord progression. What the words that you're saying is funny, but the music doesn't interest me, and like that takes away from the performance for me. That's how I have often seen those. Like, sometimes it is funny, especially when the music is just kind of background. Like it was Dimitri Martin, I think, has done some stuff where he is just kind of playing a guitar while saying jokes. But I found that a lot of the time, I'm like, if I'm a musician, then I'm picking apart the music aspect of it as much as like the words, and then that takes away from the joke.
Fair enough. I haven't noticed that so much for me. I just think like it's so much harder to hit a joke when you're also, so you got to write a punchline, then you've also got to write like a catchy melody, and then you've also got to write and then you also have to like fit it into your rhyme scheme, time signature, whatever you've set out for yourself. It's like there's like so many things working against you that like if one of them doesn't work, it can throw off the joke for me.
Yeah, it is a tricky bag of soup.
Yeah, where it's like I get what you're doing, and if you did this bit like as a stand-up bit, it might work a little bit better. But because you're trying to work it into a rhythm and a rhyme scheme and all that kind of stuff, it just it doesn't always hit home. But in this special in particular, I found a lot of the songs are really well constructed, really well written. And like some of them just have some like fucking banging beats behind them, man.
Nice. Okay.
Like, I've just been like walking around my house for the last like 2 weeks, just like humming to myself. It's like CEO entrepreneur, born in 1964, Jeffrey Bezos. Just singing the Jeff Bezos song.
Cool.
To myself, because he wrote a fucking like disco anthem about the CEO of Amazon.
All right. This sounds awesome.
It's really good. My favorite song, I think, is Problematic. Which is a song where he basically makes apologies for all of the. It's basically him trying to like preempt cancel culture, in a way. I think where he's like, "Look, I started doing comedy when I was like 16, living in suburban Massachusetts and only talked to white people. You know, like that's when I started doing comedy. Like, of course, I said some offensive, off-brand, off-color shit. Like, I'm really sorry. I don't like feel that way now. But he does it as like an '80s like techno power anthem, complete with whip cracks and lion roars, and it's so funny. It's so good.
Yes.
And then the other amazing thing is he films it all himself. It's all in his like little like carriage house, which is like one room. He does all the lighting himself, all the camera work himself. Wrote and recorded all the songs himself in that space.
Man.
Yeah, it's so good. He did all the editing himself too, which there's a couple parts where he's talking about, he's been working on the special for almost a year and he's like really starting to feel it. And he's like having like a mental breakdown. And I'm like, I remember watching it being like, he better be editing this himself too, because if he's having a fucking mental breakdown and he doesn't have to edit all this shit, like that's not like, buddy, you don't even know what mental trauma is until you had to edit a full length, shoot and edit a full length thing all by yourself.
Yeah, geez, that's your bread and butter, hey?
Yes.
Oof. But man, yeah, that sounds next level interesting.
It's super cool.
I really want to see it.
Yeah, and then like also as like a fan of like the filmmaking process, it's like it is almost its own behind the scenes thing. Because like you can see where he's got like the little remote for his light board to like switch lights that he just has in his pocket, and he just like slips it in and out of his pocket every now and then. Or sometimes he's literally just like holding a light like against his hip, and then he'll like flash it off the back wall and like cover it up on his hip again to like get little like strobing effects going on. And yeah. Cool. Or he'll just have his reference monitor in the shot. So you can like see him looking at himself in a continuous loop forever.
Ooh.
And stuff like that. So yeah, it's really cool. That's what I've been watching.
Nice.
From home, one of the things. What about you? Do you see anything cool?
Yeah, well, I've been lately interested in 2 different shows. Both of them are one-name titles, and both of them start with the letter L. Can you guess these shows?
Loki.
Loki's definitely one of them, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm one episode behind on Loki, but I'm finding it really interesting.
It is pretty interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I've also been watching Loki.
It's wacky and weird, and I feel like, well, first of all, Owen Wilson is really interesting in his role.
Yeah.
Most of the time when I see Owen Wilson, he's playing Owen Wilson, and he does that well. But in this, there's a part of me that's like, I'm starting to not see Owen Wilson. I'm starting to see the character that he's playing, and I'm like, oh, that's different for me. I usually just see Owen Wilson.
Yeah, I think the only other movie that I can think of that I've seen that happen in is The Life Aquatic.
Ooh, yes. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm definitely interested in seeing where that goes. Weird, wacky time travel show.
Yeah, I'm also an episode behind on Loki because I fell asleep during the last episode, so I gotta go back and rewatch it.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I woke up like
we'll have a whole spiel about that when the whole season's aired. Yeah. I'm sure.
I like woke up during the last scene and I'm like, oh, I don't know what's happening at all right now, but it seems like a lot happened. I gotta go back.
You just wake up and everything is blowing up.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. What's the other show?
Well, the other show, which recently aired its 2nd season, so I got to binge 1 and 2 together, and that is the Netflix series Lupin.
Lupin? I don't know what that is.
Actually, we're Canadian, so it should be Lupin.
Lupin.
Lupin is a French series that is like about, it's like not about or based on, but like influenced by the book series about Arsène. I'm gonna say this wrong, obviously. Arsène Lupin, who is the gentleman burglar.
Okay.
Yeah, super interesting series. There's a lot of like cool heist stuff. And if you are interested in watching it, definitely watch it in its original French. I say this about all like Netflix shows. Watch them in their original language. The dubbing is usually really bad.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
I remember starting to watch Dark in the English dubbing. It's the German show. And it was just so bad we almost stopped watching it. And then I realized that we're like, oh wait, no, this is originally in German. We should just watch it in German. And then it was a really, really cool show.
Yeah, it's weird. For live action, I usually will tend to try and watch something in its original language if I can. But for animation, I usually go to the dubs.
Animation can be a lot more forgiving.
You don't need to worry about lip sync as much.
Yeah, but then also like I don't know. It's just typically better.
Yeah,
voiceover for animation is typically a higher quality. I don't know. I don't really know why.
Like when we watched Death Note, we had started watching it in Japanese, and then one day we were like watching it while we were eating dinner, and so I was like constantly like looking down at my food and I have to like look back up, and I was like, oh, let's just throw on the English dub for this episode, and then we did, and it was fine, and we just kept it on for the rest of the series. We never.
Yeah, that's the downside of watching subtitled stuff is it's really hard to eat and watch at the same time.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay. Lupin.
Yeah. Super cool show. Really interesting. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I have heard about that, actually. I've heard some good things about that. Well, that's cool. I went to the movies for the first time in over a year.
Oh, you went to the theaters?
Yeah, because theaters are open here in BC, thank God.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I've been to the theater twice. I've seen 3 movies.
So you saw 2 one of the times that you went?
Yeah, at the same time. No.
Theaters have changed.
We did a double feature. Me and my partner went. That was like our date night one week. We did a double feature because we were both so excited that movies were open. So we went and saw A Quiet Place Part 2.
Ooh, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. I haven't seen it, obviously, but I'm really I'm weirdly skeptical about it, but also really interested in it.
I enjoyed it for the most part. It's not as good as the first one.
Okay.
Still very enjoyable. It's just there's something that happens during the finale that is so frustrating, and it's a filmmaking choice, and they do it to try and build tension, and I understand what they're going for. Just the way they did it was very, very poor, and there's a very simple way to make it not be that.
Oh shoot.
Okay. That's about all I can say without spoiling anything.
Cool. That works for me. I mean, like I never expected it to be as good as the first one for sure. But yeah, if you enjoyed it for the most part, I'll probably get around to watching it.
Oh yeah, I'd never say don't watch it. Like I'd say if you enjoyed the first one, definitely watch it.
Sweet.
But just know that it won't be as good as the first one.
Sweet.
And a lot of that I think revolves around the fact that John Krasinski isn't in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he appears in some flashbacks. But
I assumed that would be the case, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Cillian Murphy does a really good job of kind of stepping in and filling that type of role. He plays an old family friend that they run into when they have to leave their homestead because of what happened at the end of the first movie.
All right, cool. I like Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, me too. And then so I saw that, and then that was the first movie we saw, and then the second feature we did that night was the Chris Rock, Samuel L. Jackson Saw movie, Spiral.
What the fuck?
Have you not heard about this?
No. What?
Okay, so it turns out Chris Rock is a huge horror movie fan, and he loves the Saw movies. And
Okay.
so he met the producer, I guess, at a party or something. And was like, "Hey man, I'd love to, get out of doing comedic stuff. I haven't done a movie in a long time. I'd love to get into like the horror world." And they're like, "Excellent, funny people doing horror. We love it." Jordan Peele, anybody? Yes, let's make it happen. So they got Darren Lynn Bousman to direct it, who directed Saw 2, 3, and 4, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So he came in to direct it, and it's this movie set in there's like a Jigsaw copycat killer, because like, spoiler alert for the Saw franchise, Jigsaw dies in Saw 3, and then they made 5 more movies. 6 if you count this one.
Oh. So like, I'm not gonna bother asking. I don't care.
We can do a deep dive on the Saw franchise one day if you want.
Cool. We'll do a Patreon exclusive all about Saw.
I'll just explain it to you. You don't even have to watch it.
Oh, perfect. I would love to not watch those.
The first one is great. All of the other ones suck. This is probably the best one
Classic.
since the first one. Yeah, so like, Chris Rock plays a cop who's he's the only good cop on the force. He can't trust anybody because he's a good cop, and you're all bad cops, and I fucking hate all of you bad, dirty piece of shit cops.
All right.
And then there's a Jigsaw copycat killer that's out there killing cops. Yeah. So that's kind of what that thing is about, and it's pretty good. It definitely has like vibes of like Seven. If you've ever seen Seven, the David Fincher movie with
yes.
Yeah. It's got a similar color palette, similar kind of, everyone's sweating. They got the armpit sweat. They got the neck sweat going on. Everyone's just sweaty all the time. The whole movie's kind of golden orange.
Oh, good.
And it's like dripping sweat constantly. And then there's like their cops finding horrific murders.
I love a good wet orange movie.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. And then the third movie I saw was my my partner's grandma dragged us to see F9, the Fast and Furious 9,
Oh,
the Fast
boy.
Saga, whatever it's called. The movie's called F9.
And this grandmother is a big Fast and Furious fan?
Apparently.
Cool.
And let me tell you, it is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. It is 2.5 hours long, and it does not need to be. It could be a lean 85 minutes.
Oh boy.
But I assume you'll never watch it, so
Nope. We're
Cool,
gonna
so-
go ahead and spoil that.
I'm gonna spoil. They do one thing that they should have done like 4 movies ago, probably, and that is they
Just
finally
kill all the characters.
No, that would be amazing. Because they're doing 2 more.
Oh boy.
There's gonna be 11 movies in this fucking franchise, and then it'll stay dead for 3 years, and then Vin Diesel will realize he needs to get paid again, and then they'll do another one.
Oh no.
They finally take a car to space.
To space car. You
And
knew it
not
was
just
coming.
any car, a Pontiac Fiero.
Okay.
Ludacris and Tyrese Gibson put on like Jules Verne 20,000 League Under the Sea style scuba suits, getting a Pontiac Fiero with a giant rocket attached to it, and blast off into the stratosphere to take out an evil satellite.
Oh my. Like
Yeah.
what you've just described to me is amazing.
Yeah, but the problem is that comes at about 2 hours and 15 minutes into the movie. And there's only about like 4 minutes of screen time of them actually in space.
Nah. Bummer.
But they did the joke, which is, you see the ISS and there's some astronauts and they're like, Houston, we're seeing something, that we can't really quite explain. Like, copy that. What are you guys seeing? It's like, well, it appears to be a Pontiac Fiero. And yeah, so they did that joke, which is like, good for you. That's the joke that you have to do. But fuck, man, trim an hour out of the movie, please.
Oh boy. Well, that's too bad.
And they're still trying to work around the fact that Paul Walker is dead in real life, but his character is still alive and married to one of the main characters, and so.
Ooh, that's complicated.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, what about your kids? Where it's like, don't worry, they're with Brian. He's keeping them safe. It's the safest place he can be. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So Vin Diesel's sister is going to come along on the incredibly dangerous mission to stop the international cyber terrorist. But the guy who's like a former cop, he's gonna stay home with the kids.
Yep.
And like, no offense to his sister, like, she's a good driver and everything, but like, you know, she worked behind the counter at the garage, and I mean, yeah, she knows how to fix cars and stuff, but it's like, it just doesn't make sense in my mind, where it's like, why wouldn't you either both come or both not come?
Well, I guess you can't make sense of F9.
You really can't. These movies are fucking terrible. Yeah. I think there's like three good ones, maybe 4.
Cool.
I'm gonna say 3.5.
I'm probably never gonna watch any of them.
Just watch the 5th one.
Maybe.
Just watch the 5th one as a standalone action movie. It's pretty good.
Okay, maybe when I'm back, we'll watch it together.
That sounds like a good idea. Actually, we should do that. I did, on your recommendation, watch Cruella.
Oh, how was that for you?
Pretty enjoyable, actually.
Right? Yeah. It was fun and interesting, and like the costumes are crazy.
Oh yeah, I'm like, I can smell an Academy Award. They're going for it. Oh, there it is. Yep. The moth dress was a particularly nice touch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was like, I wasn't like blown away by it or anything, but it was very enjoyable.
Yeah. It was really, really fun, really enjoyable, but I was still really shocked when you told me that they were planning on making a sequel.
Which I guess is just going to be 101 Dalmatians?
Yeah, but like, what?
Which is like, okay, what is the plot of 101 Dalmatians? Because I know I've seen it maybe once, and I when I was a child. I did not retain it at all.
The plot of 101 Dalmatians. Cruella wants a coat made out of Dalmatian. But one Dalmatian doesn't get you much.
Right.
And so I'm trying to remember why she wants puppies, because she does go after puppies very specifically. But yeah, Cruella knows them, and she comes and like, maybe they're down fur. I don't know. They're puppy fuzz. She wants a puppy fuzz coat. And I think she offers to like buy some of the puppies, because like Pongo and it's been too long. They have a litter of puppies. Big old litter of puppies. And Cruella totally wants them. And she's like, no, we're not giving you our puppies. And so she sends Jasper and Horace over to steal them. And Jasper and Horace have also stolen a bunch of other Dalmatian puppies. And they're holed up in their mansion with what is 101 Dalmatians. And I think either the humans just don't know what's going on, or they're incompetent, but the dogs need to go on an adventure using their dog connections to go rescue not only their children, but, 90 other puppies that are in danger.
Right. Okay.
And so it's basically puppies, but like The Great Escape.
Right. Okay. So it is just the Simpsons episode where Mr. Burns wants a greyhound for a tuxedo.
Yeah. I mean, okay.
That's where they stole it from. Okay. Cool. That's the nice thing about The Simpsons is eventually you become aware of like everything in pop culture just like through secondhand.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, all right, cool. Does she sing a song about wanting a coat? Like the See My Vest song?
No, that's spoofing vest, something else. Vest,
made from real gorilla's chest. See this sweater.
That's obviously a spoof of Be My Guest. I don't know why you asked me that.
See this hat, 'twas my cat, my evening wear, vampire bat. These white slippers are albino, African endangered rhino, grizzly bear underwear, turtle's necks, I've got my share. All right, I could do the whole song if you want.
I mean, I wasn't gonna stop you.
Beret of poodle on my noodle, it shall rest. Try my Red Robin suit, it comes one breast or two. See my vest, see my vest, see my vest. And loafers, former Gophers, and yeah. Anyways, cool. Wow. Well, should we get into the main event? Speaking of psychos,
perfect segue.
We watched a sequel to a classic film. Always a risk when you make a sequel to a classic film like this, but hey, if it worked for the Fast and the Furious franchise, why couldn't it work for Alfred Hitchcock? Oh. It's Psycho 2, baby.
Baby.
I have a petition here signed by 743 people against Norman Bates' release.
Madam, please sit down. This matter is being represented by the district attorney.
Norman was not convicted of murder. He was found not guilty by reason of insanity.
Don't you realize they're going to release a homicidal maniac?
I'm going to ask you to sit down, Mrs. Loomis.
It's all too obvious. Our courts protect the criminals, not their victims.
Norman Bates is judged, restored to sanity, and is ordered released forthwith.
It's 22 years later, and Norman Bates is coming home.
I own a motel not too far from here, and you'd be welcome to spend the night in one of the empty rooms if you'd like. Good night, Mary.
And he's back in business.
Who is this? My mother is dead. I'm telling you, there was a note on that wheel from my dead mother.
Norman, it couldn't be your mother. It had to be someone else.
I trust her. She would never do anything to hurt me. No. She'll kill you. I know she will.
Look out behind you!
No, I won't do that. You can't make me kill her.
22 years later, Norman Bates is home. Psycho 2.
It's starting again.
So Psycho 2. Yeah. A sequel that came out 20 some odd years after. I have the Wikipedia here. Hold on. When did Psycho came out? So in 1960. This was 1983. So 23 years after the first film.
The time was ripe.
I guess. I don't know what inspired the studio to pursue a sequel, but I know that the director, Richard Franklin, he's an Australian filmmaker. Have we covered a Richard Franklin film on here before?
I don't know.
I don't think he directed. No, he didn't direct Razorback, but we have done. Oh no. I've seen Road Games, which is also it's a really good movie, by the way. Road Games. It's basically Rear Window, but set in a truck driving through the outback.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, Richard Franklin was like a a student of Alfred Hitchcock. He was like one of Hitchcock's last sort of like proteges. And he actually like got Hitchcock to come speak to his film class when he was in film school.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so he was a big, and then sort of became a mentee of Alfred Hitchcock. And Psycho was his favorite film. Oh yeah, here we go. So his attempt to arrange a screening of Alfred Hitchcock's Rope at USC resulted in a phone call from Hitchcock himself. Franklin invited Hitchcock to give a lecture at the university, and they subsequently became good friends.
Wow.
That's what it was, yeah. So he went to film school in America. He went to University of Southern California. And he was like a big Hitchcock devotee. And I guess, yeah, once he got his break in America, he decided, yeah, it's time. I'm going to make a sequel to Psycho.
The perfect way to pay homage.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I think he did an all right job.
Yeah?
I don't know. What are your thoughts on the movie?
Well, I mean, like, ultimately, I'm gonna go ahead and go on the record that, like, we've started talking about it. We're doing the episode. I'm still not sure how I want to rate it.
Ooh, okay.
So we're gonna
Fair
figure
enough.
out.
I don't know how I feel, how I would rate it either, but
yeah, we're gonna have to figure it out as we relive the experience.
Yeah.
So, I guess we should walk our audience through the thriller that is Psycho 2.
Yeah. So let's before we do that, before we start at the beginning, I think we have to go back a little bit further than that.
Fuck you.
I hadn't seen the original Psycho in a long time, and so I decided to go give it a rewatch before watching the second one. Ultimately proved to be unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't, and I felt fine with that.
Yeah. So the first time I ever saw Psycho, it was pretty great. It was a 35mm print screening at the Empire 7 on Granville in Vancouver.
Oh.
Don't look for it; it's not there anymore.
Oh,
on Halloween.
On Halloween, even.
On Halloween. That's how.
What an experience.
That's how I spent my Halloween when I was in first year film school. I wasn't going to wicked parties or anything like that. Me and like a couple friends were like, yeah, we're gonna go see Psycho in 35mm.
That's awesome.
And that was the first time I had ever seen the movie, so really enjoyed it. It's a film that like kicked off, if Halloween is considered like the father of modern slasher films, then I guess Psycho would be the grandfather.
Right. Yeah.
Because it isn't quite a slasher film. In fact, the second half of the movie is rather boring. Basically what happens in the first movie is Marion Crane decides she's going to steal $40,000 from her boss one day. She just does it on a whim. He asks her to go deposit the money in the bank, and she's like, yep, totally. Gets in her car, starts driving. Her plan is she's going to meet up with her lover. And they're going to start a new life together. And so she, takes off driving, and eventually needs to stop at a motel and ends up at the Bates Motel. And about half an hour, 40 minutes into the movie, she's murdered by Norman Bates, who's dressed as his mother. And then the rest of the movie is like kind of a boring procedural, where her sister and her lover are trying to find her. There's a private investigator that the boss has hired to try and recover the money, and he goes looking for her, and then he gets stabbed and falls down the stairs in one of the funniest uses of rear projection ever put on screen.
Good.
Basically him standing in front of a screen doing this as the camera like slowly moves down the stairs.
Oh, yes. Love it.
It does not hold up today, let me tell you. The stair fall in Psycho 2 is much better. We'll get to that. But yeah, and then basically they find Mrs. Bates's corpse in the basement, and Norman dressed as his mother, and they wrestle the knife out of his hand, and then there's a scene where a psychologist has to explain that no, he's not a trans. They use the term transsexual. It's not really a PG term or a PC term. Sorry.
Yeah.
To use these days, but that's he actually has a split personality, and there's him and his mother are the two personalities that occupy Norman Bates's mind, and the mother character, or the mother part of his brain has been taking over his mind, and so then he's arrested and sentenced to, I guess, a psychiatric hospital or prison, and that's where we meet up with him in Psycho 2.
Yep.
So Anthony Perkins is back as Norman Bates, and Vera Miles is also back as Lillian Crane, Marion's sister.
Right, yeah.
And it starts with him being released from prison. He's been deemed mentally sane.
Yeah, pretty much.
And has been allowed to be released from prison. And so that's where we catch up with old Norman Bates.
Yep. And at that hearing too, Marion, what was her name? Marion Crane?
Lillian. Marion is
the one who died.
Lillian. Yeah, she's the one that died. Let me just triple check that. Lila Crane.
Lila. Yeah.
Lila Crane Loomis, apparently, actually. So apparently she ended up marrying her sister's lover, Sam Loomis.
Oh, that's weird, and it's not addressed at all in the movie.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, she's there like protesting it. She's got a petition with some 400 signatures saying that he should remain incarcerated, but of course she is ignored.
Yeah.
And Norman goes free.
Yeah, and so basically, yeah, he gets a job. He gets set up with a job at a local diner.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't help but just kind of laugh. If someone had pitched, okay, we're going to do a Psycho sequel, right? But in this one, the Psycho murderer Norman Bates is working in the back kitchen of a greasy spoon.
Yeah, but
chopping
then you get to
heads of lettuce.
Yeah, but then you get to see that shot where the chef's like, "Hey, chop some lettuce for me, will you, Norman?" And then he, goes and picks up the knife and he looks at it. He's like, "Oh my, the knife!" And then he starts chopping lettuce with it. So you get to get that shot. But at the diner, he meets a young woman, whose name is Mary, played by Meg Tilly. And as he's leaving after his shift, he overhears her having a big ol' fight with her boyfriend on the phone and offers to let her stay at the motel free of charge.
Because it's
he's like,
real nearby.
"Oh, I got a motel just around the corner here. You could come. I could give you a room on the house. Blah blah blah." And she's, first she's like, no, it's all right. And finally convinces her, and so they go back to the motel. And he pops in there. I guess this is the first time he's bothered to pop into the motel since he's been home.
Yep.
Because he finds Dennis Franz running the motel. People might remember Dennis Franz. He's been in a million things. He's a very famous that guy. But I recognize him. Most people probably recognize him as the chief of the airport police in Die Hard 2. He's the one that John McClane pushes over the desk and then shoots him a whole bunch with blanks in the middle of a police bullpen in order to prove a point that the terrorists are or that the military guys are actually working with the terrorists. And then all the cops draw their guns on him. It's like, dude, John, there's a way easier way to make this point. You just pull the clip out and show them, hey, look, it's blanks. But no, unload an entire clip full of blanks in a room full of armed police officers who, probably should gun you down before you have the chance to like, stop firing the blanket. But anyways, we're not talking about Die Hard 2.
Yeah.
Die Hard 2 is pretty good though, by the way. Like everyone says, like, oh, Die Hard sequels, but like, no. Christmas, if I'm feeling it, I'd definitely watch Die Hard. But like, if I'm really feeling it, Christmas Eve, I'll go for Die Hard 2 happily.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, it's a good flick.
But back to Psycho 2.
Dennis Franz is running the motel, and he's basically turned it into a cheap sex motel.
Oh yeah, which is, in my opinion, just a regular motel. I mean, isn't that kind of how it goes? Like,
yes and no. It kind of depends on the motel.
I guess.
Some
if it's a
motels
motel
are...
that's out in the middle of nowhere, it's definitely
yes,
what I assume.
Yes. Any motels along major trucking routes, absolutely. Yeah, if you step into a motel and there's an hourly rate,
ooh,
keep on hauling, guys.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get crabs. Yeah. Some of the motels in Hope, BC.
Ooh. We don't gotta name names. It's cool. Let's move on.
No, I won't say which motels. There's like 20 of them. Some of them are nice. Some of them have an hourly rate.
Yep.
It's a town at the intersection of 3 major highways. What do you expect?
Yep.
So yeah, this was, a motel off the beaten path, and so he's, he was appointed, I guess, by the hospital I guess the hospital was managing the Bates estate.
Yeah, or like the government, essentially.
The government, yeah. So he was appointed by the hospital to run the motel, and so he turned it into a place where people could come and have dirty, cheap motel sex and do drugs and...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. From a business standpoint, it made money, because they talk about in the first Psycho, oh yeah, they rerouted the highway. This used to run right past the main highway, and then they rerouted the highway to a new highway, and now not a lot of people come along here. That's why she pulls into the motel, and he's like, oh, we got 12 rooms and 12 vacancies. Yeah, so, not making a lot of money off the motel these days, but yeah, he's adopted a new business model, which apparently is financially viable. And Norman takes offense to that. He likes to murder women. He doesn't like people having frivolous sex and doing narcotics in his motel.
Yeah, that's not okay.
Murders only.
Yes.
Please and thank you.
He should have got a sign made, really.
Yes. If you're planning to fuck, go elsewhere.
If you want to die,
only one type of stabbing will happen. No.
No.
We'll workshop that joke. We'll come back to it later.
Only my knife may penetrate.
There's only one kind of penetration happening here.
Well, that's reductive. There's lots of different ways to have sex. I mean, let's be real.
Abdominal. He's gonna stab him in the knife in the sternum with a knife. Anyways, there are lots of ways to have sex. It's true.
So anyway, the motel is a cesspool of sex and drugs. Okay, so he goes in and he's like, "Hey, this is drugs and sex." That's my Norman Bates, by the way. It needs some workshopping. You're fired. He fires that guy.
It's a little gruff. It's a little Mr. Krabs. You could.
I'm Norman Bates.
If it was Mr. Krabs, he'd be like, yes, money, good job.
Yeah, totally. He'd be on board. But yeah, Norman's like, no, and he fires him on the spot. Yeah. Just met the guy.
Yeah.
But also he's a super sleazy dude.
Yeah.
And so they have a little altercation. He tells Mary to go up and wait at the house. It's unlocked.
Yeah, it's true.
And Mary's like, "Are you sure?" And he gives her the line, "Do what I say."
Just do as I say, okay?
Which is,
but he says it in like a really friendly, like comforting way. Like just do as I say, okay?
Yeah, but it's like there's no like the the connotation is in no way helpful or friendly when
it's not. But he definitely is adopting that tone of voice,
Yeah, and she obeys and like goes up to the house, and then he has a bit of an altercation.
Well, yes, Matt, it was a different time.
Let's not. He's so he fires him, and then offers for Mary to stay at his house.
Yeah,
which at this point in the movie, I'm like, Mary should be way more freaked out by this super nervous, visibly sweaty older man who wants you to stay in his mansion that he's staying in for the first time in many years. And it's like, this is weird, but she stays. And
well, yes, and we find out the reason why
explained later
in a bit,
which I didn't expect.
No,
yeah, I didn't expect. But yeah, so he's working at the diner, and Mary's staying with him. And we can start to get like Norman is seeing some things. Yeah, first of all, when he first comes back to the house, he's like with the doctor. He sees someone in the window of his mother's room. And is like, "Oh no, my mother!" But he
just like
and then he starts like seeing notes that's like, "Get that slut out of my house or I'll kill her." Signed, your mother, I think is how it was signed. But
yeah.
Which is okay. And yeah, so he's like he's like not totally sure of his sanity, and we're all like, okay, he's clearly going nuts. He comes home at one point and hears, or he straight up doesn't just see movement in the window, he sees a woman standing in the window of his mother's room. He's like, shit, and he's like freaking out. The shot's actually really good. I really liked that sequence. And he races up there to his mother's room. The whole mansion has been in total disuse for years with like, sheets thrown over everything because of dust and all that jazz. He gets to his mother's room and it's completely made up. It's like just the way it was. Yeah. And then there's another note on like the nightstand or like the vanity that's like, "I'm gonna kill that whore."
Yeah. Well, and when he was at the diner, so the whole time you think like, is Norman going insane, or is someone trying to provoke him? Because when he's at the diner, there's a note that shows up on the ticket wheel for meals.
Right. Yeah.
That's from his mother, and then he blames the Dennis Franz character that he fired the last night. He's like, he stuck a note on the thing. He's trying to provoke me. I just fired him last night. And then they go and they check, and it's like, dude, there's nothing here.
Yep.
And like, oh, Norman's starting to lose it. And then again, he goes into his mother's room and it's all made up, the way it was. And then he goes into the attic and he blacks out.
He thinks he hears someone in the attic. He goes up there, and then the door shuts behind him and is locked.
Yeah.
And so like the room being like completely made up, I was like, okay, so Norman is just insane. Like, this doesn't make any rational sense. He's going nuts. And while he's locked in the attic, some kids come back to the mansion to fuck. We learned earlier on, I can't remember who said it, but I think it was the cop. I think it was the chief of police who was like, yeah, we had to get some kids out of the basement because they were fucking, or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, the neighborhood kids, to get a little bit of a thrill, they break into the old murder house and smoke weed and have sex in the basement kind of thing, right?
Yeah, totally. So they like sneak in and they're already high. And they get out this really dirty, nasty bedroll for their dirty, nasty sex, and they start making out. And then they hear something, and in the next room of the cellar, they see the silhouette of a woman. And the girl, who's smart, gets the fuck out, climbs out the window immediately. The dude, kind of like waits for a bit until he clearly sees that she's approaching and has a knife. And then he tries to leave, doesn't leave in time. He eats it. He done gets stabbed.
Quite a bit, yes.
Yep.
And yeah, so one of the things I noticed in this sequel is that it kind of, this was 1983, so this would have been after Friday the 13th, not quite after Halloween, not quite around Nightmare on Elm Street. I think Nightmare on Elm Street is 84, but the slasher movie has taken off since then. You know, we've had Texas Chainsaw, Halloween,
Mm-hmm.
Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th spawned a billion slasher ripoffs.
Oh yeah.
You know, you've got
For
Pieces, you've got The Burning, you've got all these, you know, Slumber Party Massacre, all these kind of things, Sleepaway Camp. So this sort of, I think that was part of what inspired the Psycho 2 thing. It was like, oh, if we, you know, make a teen slasher movie, we attach it, you know, to the, you know, the name of this, you know, one of the most famous movies of all time, Alfred Hitchcock, you know, most famous directors of all time. We can make a quick buck. And so the murder sequences in this are definitely 80s slasher inspired, you know.
Yeah.
They go a lot further than Alfred Hitchcock could in the original Psycho. But
Oh yeah, totally.
yeah. So Norman Bates wakes up in the attic. He had passed out and fallen asleep, blacked
Yeah,
out.
I think he wakes up because Mary's just come home and is like calling for him.
Yeah. And so she opens the attic door, and he's going, "Oh, I got locked in. And she's like, "Well, there's no key in the lock. Like it was totally open." And he's like, "My mother's room. There's someone in my mother's room." And they go back to the room, and it's got drop cloths hanging on it.
Yep.
The, you know, mattress is rolled up. There's nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, "Oh, Norman, you're losing your mind, bud."
Yeah. And so like at this point in the movie, I'm thinking like Norman is clearly insane.
Yeah.
Like, and he's insane and killing people because he's a psycho killer, which destroys the only which destroys the only tension or mystery that's in the plot at all. And so it's at this point I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm getting kind of bored. Then the cops show up because the girl who ran away is like, my boyfriend died in the basement.
Yeah.
And Norman is like, well, I can't have been me. And he starts to say, you know, like, oh, I got locked in the attic somehow, my mother's room and stuff. But then Mary immediately covers for him and says like, oh no, we were out. We were taking a walk in the fields.
Yeah.
They're like, can we go see the basement? They go down there. The basement's been cleaned.
Yeah.
And he asked like, Norman, you've been cleaning down here? And Norman says, honestly, like, I haven't been down here at all since I came back. And Mary's like, oh, I was cleaning down here. I just can't stand a messy house.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, all of that tension and mystery is back. So I'm like, why the fuck is Mary covering for him so immediately? And who cleaned the basement? And all of a sudden I'm like, I'm actually interested in this plot all of a sudden.
Yeah, it takes a turn. It's a nice way to go about it, right? Like the cheap way to do this sequel would be, okay, Norman's out of prison, he's still crazy, still killing. Don't take a shower, you know?
Yeah, right.
They even do a bait and switch where Mary goes and takes a shower, and you can see a POV of someone watching her through a peephole, similar to how Norman watched Marion Crane in the first one. And you're supposed to think, oh, maybe it's Norman, and then it's like, oh, maybe it's not Norman, maybe it's someone else, you know. So so there's an element of mystery. It's like, oh, is it Norman? Is it someone else? Like, what's going on? Why is she covering for him? Is she in love with Norman? Like, what the fuck's wrong with her, right? So she goes down to the motel for some reason. I don't remember why. And that's where she meets Lila Crane, who we find out is her mother.
Plot twist. I didn't see it coming.
No. And turns out they have been trying to get Norman to snap, to admit that he's, you know, seeing his mother, he's hearing his mother's voice. So they've been, they were the ones dressing as his mother and appearing in the window.
They were the one writing the notes.
They've been making
which
phone
explains
calls.
how it happened at the diner because Mary's there.
Yep, she could slip it in and out without anyone noticing. And they've also been making phone calls. Lila Crane has been making phone calls to the house and talking to Norman as his mother.
Yep, and apparently they also went so far as to completely make up the room.
Yeah.
Lure him into the basement, and then she did actually lock him in the basement so that they could then in the attic, yeah. So that they could then redo the room. And it's like, oh, we're just like figuring all this stuff out. Which is nuts. But then like the mystery is still there because like, okay, so that part, like Norman isn't actually going insane like I totally thought. He's being set up, he's being pushed over the edge. Who killed the kid in the basement?
Well, that's just it, right? So she's been getting closer and closer with Norman, and she's like, no, I don't think he's capable of killing anyone.
And she wants her mom to like stop. Like, this is enough.
Like, we got to back off.
This man.
Yeah, like I don't think he's a danger to more. I think he is actually cured, and we're actually torturing this man, and you know, maybe that's the thing that, you know, if we continue to do this, you know, it could end badly. But she's like, well, you know, yeah, we made up the room. We locked him in the basement, or we locked him in the attic. We didn't go into the basement and kill a boy. You know? So like what the fuck's going on there? So that, yeah, at that point I was like, ooh, this is juicy.
Yeah, and like, so he's been like getting telephone calls from his mother that's actually been Mary's mother, who I love. She's totally obsessed with getting Norman reincarcerated to the point where I was like, is she capable of murder? Like, did she kill a boy in his basement to try to get him framed? But then, like, if she did, why would she have cleaned it up? And like, Mary's like trying to put a stop to this and saying like, and she just straight up tells him, like, she comes clean. And it's like, me and my mother have been tricking you. It's not you. Like, it's us. Like, that's not your mother on the phone. That's my mother trying to trick you. And he starts saying, like, oh, no, like this. And, like, the shrink even, like, tries to help him. And, like, they dig up his mother. And, like, he looks at her corpse in the coffin.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay,
the shrink,
like,
by the way.
she's dead. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
The shrink, by the way, is played by Robert Loggia, I believe is his name. What does it say on here? Sorry. Yeah, Robert Loggia, who people might remember from... he's also been in a bunch of stuff, but he plays Dick Laurent in Lost Highway, the David Lynch movie, if anyone's ever seen that. There's a lot of cool character actors in this movie.
Yeah.
Like Dennis Franz and Meg Tilly and Robert Loggia, and I'm just like... and there's some cool behind the scenes folks in this as well. Like, did you notice who the composer was?
Oh yeah, Jerry Goldsmith.
It's another Jerry Goldsmith joint, baby.
Yep.
The director of photography was Dean Cundy.
Oh, who's
Dean
that?
Cundy, you probably would know him best for being the cinematographer on a little movie called I don't know, Jurassic Park.
Oh boy.
He also did like a bunch of John Carpenter movies. Like I think he was the cinematographer on Halloween, The Fog, Escape from New York, Halloween 2, The Thing, Halloween 3, all 3 Back to the Future movies, Big Trouble in Little China, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Roadhouse, Hook, Death Becomes Her, Jurassic Park, The Flintstones, Casper, Apollo 13, Flubber, Parent Trap, What Women Want, Looney Tunes Back in Action, Garfield. Like the guy's...
Oh boy.
Yeah. The guy has been a very prolific
Yeah, no kidding. He started with Jurassic Park and ended on Garfield, so he's clearly done a lot.
Look, after Apollo 13 and Flubber, his career kind of dipped a little bit, but
he's done some amazing work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's you know, any one of those movies on someone's resume is like, oh, that's pretty impressive, but like, you know, dude's done some good work. So yeah, that was one of those things where I'm like watching the credits, I'm like, holy fucking shit. They got Goldsmith and Cundy?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, sorry, that was literally the only note I took was Richard Franklin, Dean Cundy, Jerry Goldsmith.
Nice. But yeah, so he's going crazy. The shrink is trying to help him. They dig up his mother, which seems extreme, but also like he's a psycho killer who needs problems solved. So I guess it makes sense. And so he sees her like, yes, my mother is dead.
Yeah.
But he's like, but like my mother calls me on the phone, and they're like, no, your mother is dead. And he's like, no. Mrs. Bates is dead.
Yeah.
It's my real mother that's calling me on the phone. She's my real mother. And we're like, oh, fuck. So at this point in the movie, we're like, okay. So like the plot twist was that it was Mary and Mary's crazy mother that were doing all this shit to Norman to make him go crazy. But they made him go crazy.
Yeah.
So now he's crazy again.
Yeah. And he's killing people? Maybe? Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah. And so like, so like the shrink like is trying to figure out who's been calling and suspects that it's Lila Loomis.
Yep.
And follows her from her hotel in town. Follows her to the Bates motel, and we see her like sneak down through the back way, like those classic double doors at an angle that like lead into the cellar.
Oh yeah, like storm doors.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And she like lifts a piece of stone off the ground, and there is a knife and a wig and a dress. How she's been like dressing up as the mother. And then someone dressed up like the mother stabs her through the mouth.
Yeah.
And then like the shrink comes down there. She's gone. No sign of her. There's noticeably more coal stacked up in one of the corners of the room. Mm-hmm. And then Norman Bates comes down the stairs. It's like, oh, doctor, what are you doing here? And I love this that he
Jimmy Stewart now.
I'm just playing around with it, trying to.
Doctor, what are you doing here? I haven't killed anybody.
That's good. I like that.
It's not a bad Jimmy Stewart, is it?
No, you're good at impressions. I'm not. So let's just not point it out, eh?
What did you think you were, God, Brandon? That's my favorite. It's my favorite Jimmy Stewart line from Rope. What did you think you were, God, Brandon? Just the thought of like angrily yelling the name Brandon at someone is like
Brandon.
It's like not a
That's a good name. Yeah. Anyway, so he's like, "Hey, what you doing down here, Shrank?" And he just is totally honest. I love it. He's like, "Hey, I followed Lila Loomis, like from the hotel to here. She came down here. I don't see her anywhere. I don't know what's going on, but I'm 100% sure." Because like, look, here's the outfit underneath this fake rock. Like, she's definitely the one who's been fucking with you.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, that's great. But my other mother is still calling me on the phone." And the shrink's like, "Well, fuck." And he basically is like, "Hey, if I can prove it, if I can give you proof that Lila and Mary Loomis are the ones calling you, then like, will you accept that your mother's dead?" And he's like, "Well, yes, of course.
I'd be happy to accept that my mother's dead."
Yes. Moneypenny.
Yeah.
So then
this. I can't wait to see where it goes next.
Oh boy, yeah. What a roller coaster.
You could come up to the house. I could make milk and sandwiches.
It's a weird combo. It's like white bread with just bologna and a glass of milk. That sounds horrible. It's like the first thing he feeds Mary. It's anyway. And there wasn't any food in the house. He bought those groceries.
Yeah.
Like he made anyway.
Yeah.
So then we're at the point now where the crazy mother's dead, so she wasn't the murderer. Mary's probably not the murderer because she cares about Norman and wouldn't go that far. Norman's going insane. Is he actually the murderer? And the shrink is trying to figure out who's been fucking with Norman so that he can prove it. And so, unbeknownst to the audience at the time, the shrink is like hiding in the house.
Yeah.
And then Norman gets a phone call from his other mother and is all like, "Yes, mother. Oh, I know you're the only one who loves me, mother. Oh, Mary, I couldn't possibly kill her, mother. I've just...
What are me lucky charms?"
Oh, teedly-hee, potatoes. I don't want to kill Mary. She's so nice to me, Mother. And Mary's like, your mother's dead. That's my mother on the phone. You gotta stop. And she like goes down to the basement, gets the outfit, dresses up like his mother, and comes up and is like, I'm your mother. See, look, I'm your mother. Hang up that phone. You hang up that phone this instant. And he's just like still talking to his other mother. And she goes up to the other phone upstairs and picks it up and is like, this is your mother speaking. Hang up the phone right now. Can you hear me? And then like she can just see like Norman's butt and part of his pant leg from around the corner down the stairs, and he slowly slips out of frame. And she's like, Norman, can you hear me? Norman? And there's like total tension when she's like, oh no, like, am I about to die? Is Norman gonna fucking kill me because he's going insane? And she has the knife as part of the costume. And then she gets grabbed from behind. It's the shrink who was hiding in one of the rooms and is like, gotcha! Because he's like, haha, I have proof. You're on the phone. I heard you pretending to be the mother, which she was doing. Of course, she turns around and fucking stabs him.
Yeah. By mistake.
Yeah, totally.
It's a reaction, you know, she's a little bit of self-defense, kind of. She just got grabbed from behind. She's in the house with a guy who's a psycho killer who's going insane.
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
She stabs him, and then he falls over the banister, lands on the railing below, pushing the knife even further into his chest.
He falls knife first.
Yeah. So, a much better stair fall than the one in Psycho 1.
Yep. I mean, there's some clear dummy work there, but it still looks way better.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah.
So yeah, he's fucking dead, and then Norman, she's like looking down the stairs at his knifed corpse, and then Norman like steps into view and like looks up, and she's still like dressed as his mother, and he's all like, "Oh, it'll be okay, Mother. Like, I'll protect you. I'll cover for you as I always do." It's kind of Eeyore a bit there.
Okay, Mother.
It's fine. I'll cover for your murder, I guess. And she's like obviously freaked out. She's going nuts and like trying to get him to stay away because she's afraid that he's gonna kill her. And he's like all crazy thinking that she's the mother, and she's like, I'll clean up the body, I'll protect you and everything. And she's like trying to get him to go away, and she stabs him, gets him like in the gut, and then he's like holding up his hands. She stabs him in both hands, like both of his hands done get stabbed.
Got some stigmata action going on.
Yep, it's and so like she's like weeping and like just taking off the wig and like breaks open the dress. She's still wearing her normal clothes underneath, and is like, I'm not your mother, like I'm Mary, like remember me. And he's just like, it's okay, Mother, it's okay. And she's like stabbing him a bit to get back, and it's all going crazy, and like the tension is rising, and eventually he like hugs her legs or something, and it's like, it's okay, Mother. And she freaks out, and she raises up the knife to like go ahead and just fucking kill him. Cops bust in and are like, put down the knife, boom, blow her away.
Yeah.
Which was intense. That was
it was
a really twisted and sad and intense sequence. And then based on all of the evidence, like Lila and Mary Loomis were fucking with Norman Bates. There's someone at the hotel who overheard Lila and her daughter having a fight about stopping, and Mary said, like, if you come near the house again, you'll regret it. Mm-hmm. They find Norman defenseless, stabbed a bunch of times, and Mary with a knife trying to kill him, and they shoot her. I feel like I guess she was about to stab him, but like it was very quick.
They come in right as she raises the knife above her head, and so it's like, oh shit, we gotta.
Yeah, you know. And so they blast her. It seemed quick, but also like, I don't know, that she was clearly gonna kill him. And then they find her mother there underneath that pile of coal, also dead. And they're like, okay, so Mary clearly went crazy and killed everyone, and Norman's totally fine.
Yep,
he was the victim.
Yeah.
And then And then the movie's not quite over yet.
Yeah, there's a bit of a denouement, if you will.
A
Or if you're
denouement and like
denouement.
denouement.
If you're from Quebec. Yeah, so
Calice.
there's a bit of a denouement where he comes, he gets released from the police station. They're like, all right, Norman, you're all clear. These people were fucking with you. Sorry we doubted you, mate, but, you get it. You
You get it. You killed those people. You remember.
You murdered like 7 women. You get why we can't really trust you. And he's like, yeah, no, it's all right. I get it. It's fine. We Gucci.
Jeez.
Direct quote. Oh, it's okay, cops. Don't worry about it. We're all good here.
Oh, it's okay. I'm Norman Bates.
Psycho, but with Kermit the Frog as Norman Bates.
Ooh, I would totally watch that.
Boy's best friend is his mother. Anyway, yeah. Dude, this is a Patreon bonus episode idea I had where we take movies and recast them with Muppets.
Yeah, it's good.
You're allowed to leave one human actor. Like, you can have your Michael Caine as Scrooge, but then everyone else has to be. Yeah. Anyways, and you have to make the exact same script.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, so he goes back to the house, and who shows up but the little old lady that he met on his first day at the diner.
Yeah, she was like working there, right?
Yeah, she was working there. Mrs. Spool or something like that. What's her name here? Emma something.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, so he's back.
Emma Spool.
He's like making food in his excuse me. Making food in his kitchen, and then we see like an old woman walking up towards the Bates house, and we're like, what the fuck now?
Uh-oh.
And she just like comes up to the outside door of the kitchen and knocks. And Norman opens it up. There's like a place set for her. And she just walks on in, and they're being all kind of cool about it. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then it's like, oh, he was being called by his real mother.
Yeah.
That's her.
Yeah, turns out Bates was the married name of Norman's mother. Her real last name was Spool, and Emma was her sister. And she got pregnant out of wedlock and couldn't take care of the baby, so she gave it to Norma.
Mm.
And that's that's where Norman came about. So it turns out that she is his real mother. And then he offers to make her some tea, and she's like, oh, that would be wonderful. And he grabs a shovel and bashes her in the head.
Yep.
And
completely
carries
like
her body.
shattering the chair that she was in too.
Yeah. And carries her body upstairs, and you can hear the Mrs. Bates voice speaking to Norman as he carries her upstairs, like, put me in my chair, Norman. He's like, yes, mother. And so it's like, oh.
Face me near the window so I can watch you and make sure that you don't fuck anyone.
Yeah. Which, if he's real smart, he just fuck people in the backyard.
Yeah.
There's no window.
Loophole.
Anyways. Yeah.
So yeah. So it's
the twist is weird.
Yes, I still haven't been able to figure out how I feel about it, because like the first twist, which was that he wasn't insane, was great. But then he was also still going insane.
Yeah.
Which
I think
furthered the plot.
Yeah, so I think the idea is that, like, at the beginning of the movie, he's fine. He's been cleared. Then they fuck with him a bunch, which starts to, like, break down his mental state to the point where he's like, oh, fuck, I'm going insane. And then, once he finds out, that this is his real mother and everything like that, then he's like, cool, I need to kill you now.
Yeah, but like,
so I think it's I don't know if it's a self-fulfilling prophecy or not, but it is a little bit of like that snake eating its tail.
Ouroboros.
Yeah, where it's just like, it's like he would have been fine if no one fucked with him. And then they were fucking with him to try and get him recommitted, but the fucking with him, to admit that he was seeing things, like I don't think Lila and Mary wanted him to kill anybody.
No.
I just think they wanted him to question his mental state. Then he would tell the psychiatrist, like, I've been seeing my mother and hearing my mother and getting notes, and like
Exactly.
And then Mary could be there to testify, like, yeah, the bedroom was it was still had the
dusty
drop
and covered
all over it. Yeah, no, it wasn't made up at all. And so yeah, I think like I don't think they were trying to get him to go crazy or anything like that. They just wanted him to admit that he was going crazy, and then she could use her testimony to try and get him recommitted. But then that in effect did trigger something in his mind that actually made him go crazy, and then I think the final straw was that he finds out his real mother. The only thing I don't like about the twist is that there's like zero evidence of it.
Of like him having a different mother?
Yeah, it's just dropped in that final. You meet her at the beginning when he goes to the diner. She's not in the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And then, obviously she's the one who was watching Mary through the painting.
Yep. She's the one who kills the kid in the basement.
She's the one who kills the kid in the basement.
And
she
kills Lila Loomis.
Yeah. So she's around, but there's like no. You could never figure it out as an audience member,
Yeah. There was no way that we could have guessed that.
Yeah. I like a mystery that's so well constructed that at the end you can be surprised by it, but if you like really think hard and try to put all the clues together yourself, you could figure it out. I think that's the best way to do a locked door mystery, right? It's the Agatha Christie model, right?
Mm-hmm.
She does it the best. Knives Out is a great example of that.
Yep, genius.
So that's the kind of the one complaint I have about the way the movie ends. It's just like, here's one final scene where I will show up and explain to you what happened. Like, I even had to take a second to be like, is that the woman from the diner?
Yeah, I also had to have that moment. I was like, it has to be, right?
Went back and checked later. I'm like, oh yeah, it is that woman. Okay, cool. So yeah, ratings.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, because like at first I was like, okay, this is kind of whatever. It's probably gonna be boring. He's just crazy and killing people. And then there was that twist, and I was like, ooh, I'm interested. I'm engaged. And it spirals, and he does go insane. And then everyone dies, and it's intense. And I was like, that was cool. And then that extra twist right at the end, which was just not earned at all, it's just like, oh, he does have a different mother who is also a psycho, who was the one killing the people. Norman hasn't killed anyone at this point. Yeah. And then Norman, who has now gone back to being completely insane, kills her so that he can have the same relationship with his real mother as he did with his old mother, which is that she's dead and he takes care of her. And then it was just like, I feel like they just kind of threw that in so that it would be like kind of right back to square one. Right?
Yeah.
Like now he's just Norman Bates again because he went all crazy and then he killed his mother. But like the whole, I don't know though. Parts of this movie were so interesting. There was like really good mystery elements, and then but like the ending is just made me feel really weird.
Yeah. No, it's I know what you mean. It's strange. Overall though, I don't think it's a bad movie. Do you want me to tell you the Rotten Tomatoes first? Maybe that'll help you.
Well, I should try to guess it, right?
Oh yes, yeah.
That's normally what we do.
That is normally what we do.
Did it get? I'm gonna guess 56.
Pretty close. It's 60%.
Oh, I was very close. Oh,
yeah,
60. Okay. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It's not that bad. It wasn't great.
No.
Some of the acting was terrible, but
yeah. It's not. I don't think I can say it's one big pile of shit. Like I would not feel comfortable putting this in the same category as, say, Hollow Man.
I knew you were gonna say Hollow Man. It was our go-to shit movie.
It's so bad. Or even like what's another thing that we watched? It's like Forbidden World, or any of those absolutely garbage trash movies that we've watched on this show. You know,
somewhere I have a note of all of the bad movies that we've watched.
Even what did we watch last month? Resident Evil Apocalypse. Like, I would way rather watch this movie again than watch, Resident Evil Apocalypse or the Battlestar Galactica movie or Reindeer Games. Well, maybe not Reindeer Games, actually. I mean, it's pretty bad, but I can't remember what we gave it. Anyways, so I think I have to go Breakfast Club Fist Bump.
Yeah, and I think I'm there with you. I think it's a low Breakfast Club Fist Bump, which I know we've done before. It's not above the head, but it's like
chest height.
Yeah, chest height. Where it's kind of like, yeah, okay, yeah, like I didn't hate watching this movie. We've watched some real bad ones. Yeah. But even then, I'm looking at some of our one big pile of shit movies, and I'm like, some of these I think on fondly because they were so bad. maybe we need to do a special where we need to do we need to go over these again.
For sure. I'd be down for that. 100%.
Other Breakfast Club Fist Pump movies are like Roadhouse, BMX Bandits.
Obviously, yes.
The 1998 Godzilla.
We gave that a Breakfast Club Fist Bump.
Yeah, we did. It was just fun.
Not a craptacular?
No.
Oh, I might revisit that one.
Yeah, fair.
I'd have to listen back to that episode. I want to know what we said now.
Yeah, I also want to listen. Jurassic Park 3 is on the Breakfast Club Fist Pump.
Ooh.
We need to do a retroactive. We need to do a retrocrapular retroactive.
I feel like there's a lot of times where we're doing this where we like talk ourselves into liking the movie.
Yeah.
So that we're not like, we don't feel like we've wasted our own time.
Yeah.
Which like
did we just do that just now?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Honestly, because like even when I ended the movie, like as I was watching the movie, I was enjoying it, and I was like,
that's true.
This is good. This is probably gonna be a fist bump. And then the ending happened, and I was like, oh, that's strange. It's not. Yeah, I don't know. Like I wonder what would happen if if they didn't add the denouement to that scene where it's just like, they kill Mary.
And then he just goes home and he's just insane and he pretends to talk to his real mother that doesn't exist. Like, is that more satisfying?
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like I feel like there's a way you could set it up where it's like you don't know if it was Norman or if it was Mary that was committing the murders in the end.
Yeah, honestly, like I wonder if it would have been more satisfying if Norman, who at this point in the movie had already gone crazy, was the one who killed Lila Loomis, which would have just been more poignant. She was trying to get him locked up so that he wouldn't kill anybody else, and she's like, his victim. And then instead of being like the whole, oh, well, you have a real mother that you're going to kill right away, it just cuts back to her and he's like using Lila Loomis's corpse dressed like his mother.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think there's a way you can get this movie to be, maybe a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes. Maybe an 80%, where it's just like,
that's pretty high.
It's like, no, you know what? Yeah, that is pretty good. And I think it just revolves around that second or third twist at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, oh, actually, it was his real mother all along. Here's an exposition scene, and bang, you're dead.
Yep.
It's like that to me is just a little unsatisfying. So I like I said, I think there's a way you can kind of tweak the script to be like 90% the same, and then just tweak that last little 10% to either have it be like you just straight up don't know if it was Mary or if it was Norman, you know? Like maybe you could do a thing where it's like, oh, it was Mary and she was in love with Norman and that's why she killed her mother because her mother was like fucking with Norman. And she killed her mother so that they could be together.
Yeah.
But also, maybe it was Norman. Maybe he did black out in the attic and go, you know, stab teens in the basement and stuff like that and killed Lila Loomis. And then he uses her as his new mother corpse.
Yeah, I think that was the big thing is that like, is it Norman? Is it Mary? Is it Lila? Like you can kind of justify any of them being the one who's killing all these people. And then it was none of them.
It was Agatha all along. Yeah. Except it'd be like if Agatha Harkness wasn't in the entire show and then she just showed up in episode 6 of WandaVision and was like, hey, I've been doing magic off screen.
Yeah. Who are you?
You know?
Yep.
That's kind of what it was. It's like, oh, it was your real mother all along.
Yeah.
Fucking cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess it's not terrible, but really low, unenthusiastic Breakfast Club fist pump.
Yeah.
Well,
kind of breaking our own rules on that one, but you know, whatever. We've done it before, and we'll do it again. So, anyways, yeah, that was Psycho 2. This is episode 2 of our super spooky summer trilogy. We did Resident Evil last month. Obviously, Psycho 2 this month because you just listened to it. And
did you pick this movie for this one intentionally?
No.
Because earlier today, before we were recording, I was thinking, hey, this is going to be the last episode that we do apart because I'm moving back to BC. Before we left, the last episode that we did together was Psycho 4.
Oh, shit.
You didn't do that intentionally?
No, I did not do that intentionally.
Ooh, serendipity.
It is a little serendipitous. Anyways, join us next month for the final film in our series of the super spooky summer, which is Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday.
Which was not the final Jason movie.
No, they made like 3 more after that. So fucking cool, man. But it is a weird one.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one where they, well, I don't know. We won't get into it.
Yeah. We'll do that next month.
Yeah, we'll do it next month. It'll be all good. If you're watching this on YouTube or if you follow us on Instagram at RetroCrapPod, little plug there. You will see some cool artwork for this episode that my partner Tanisha made for this little mini series. She's done a little cartoons. So for this one, she did this awesome cartoon of Matt as Norman Bates and me as Marion Crane. It's so good. Getting stabbed in the shower in the style of The Simpsons. So that's. Thank you so much to her for that. I'll ask her if she wants me to like put her Instagram up or something. I can tag it in the show notes if people want to check out. She sometimes posts her art on there. She doesn't have like a dedicated art page or anything like that. But
if she wants.
She takes commissions if you want like a tattoo designed.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Anyways, so we're thinking because she did this one and then she did one for the next one. I got to her a little late on the first one. I was like, just draw like a picture of us looking scared. So she did like a little cartoon of us in like the style of Scott Pilgrim a little bit looking scared.
And I love it.
It's great. It's great. But for this one I was like, no, let's go more specific. Like it would have been, way better if she had drawn us like as like, I don't know, Mila Jovovich and Sienna Gilroy for Resident Evil or something like that. But
one of us only has one pant leg.
Yeah, but whatever, it worked. So yeah, she did a fun one for Jason Goes to Hell too. So stick around for that.
I'm excited. I haven't seen it.
That one will be out. We have to try real hard to make sure we record on time, because there is a Friday the 13th in August, which is specifically why I chose that. So I want that episode to come
so
out.
We need to record like beginning of August, make sure we have it out on Friday the 13th. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
For sure. Just a little behind the scenes scheduling there for the audience. I might cut it out, who knows? Or maybe not. Yeah,
I mean,
so
they're listening to us jabber anyway. I mean,
we can't end the show to save our lives. So we are throwing around the idea of turning those into t-shirts. So if you would like a t-shirt based on either of these designs, I mean, you haven't seen the next one yet, but
I would.
Yeah, I would absolutely do that. We'll probably do it on like TeePublic or something like that, so that doesn't actually, cost us anything. We'll do like a print on demand thing, but yeah, just an idea we've got. So stay tuned for that. Other than that, you can reach us on all of the socials at RetroCrapPod. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/RetroCrapPod, where you can get awesome exclusive things like commentary tracks, bonus episodes,
an in-depth expose on nipple play.
Coming soon. That'll be the Christmas 2021 bonus episode. Just us talking about nipple play. Why?
It's like one
Why
of our
is it
longest
fun?
running jokes. We started
does it
talking
feel
about that
good?
in episode 9.
Yeah. Yeah. And here we are, 5 years later, still talking
so
about
far.
it. Love it. We have an email address, retrocrappod@gmail.com, if you want to email in some fun facts or something. Didn't have any emails in the bin this week. We did have some very angry YouTube comments, again in Spanish though, so sorry.
Was it on the Hollow Man video or?
No, this one was on the Razorback episode.
Oh yeah, another one that's often commented on for.
Yeah. Also, some guy's just been getting real aggro with me on the Ewoks episode.
That's fun.
I'm not gonna bother pulling it up. Basically, I had put up the poster for the as like, the artwork, and there's like a picture of like a guy that looks like Han Solo with like a laser gun, and I'm like, he's not in the movie. Also, these snowy mountains aren't in the movie, and some guy tried to like actually me, but it's like the worst actually ever, where he's like, actually that's her brother, and he dies in the first scene. I'm like, well, first of all, he doesn't wear that outfit, and that looks nothing like her brother. He's like, I've seen this movie 6,000 times, and I think I would know. And I'm like, dude, that is, I know you're trying to actually write me right now and like one up me, but that is like the worst brag you could ever possibly make. You've seen Ewoks: The Battle for Endor 6,000 times? Like, fuck, man, get a life.
That's not good.
So I made some comment about like, oh, hey man, so I'd love to stay and argue with you, but I'm sure you got things to do, like watch Battle for Endor for the 6,001st time. And then he commented back, 6,003, actually, dumbass.
Ooh,
so anyways,
that's a scathing retort.
Yeah. The internet is a great place, and I love YouTube. So
good times. I'm so glad I'm not the one who reads those.
Dude, I love it. Like I don't take it personally at all. I know the podcast is stupid.
Yeah, we know what we're doing here. If you're still here listening to this, we understand that you're probably either not listening to it and it's going on in the background, or you.
Well, no, I feel like if you've made it to this point, you're on board. You also know, you're also in on the joke. It's everyone else who clearly thinks that our channel is a channel for illegally watching movies.
Nope.
It's not. There are bots that will post links to illegally watching movie websites in the comments on all of our videos. So if you do want to watch movies illegally, by all means, go. But yeah, that I found very funny. This guy tried to tried to call me out by stating that he had seen Battle for Endor over 6,000 times. And it's like, dude, you gotta brag about something else. That's not where you flex.
You should just reply, "Your salt sustains me."
I will. That's a good one. I think I just sent him like a winky emoji or something like that.
That's also a great retort. Which being like, wink.
Yeah, or like the kissy wink emoji, something like that.
Also a good one.
Yeah. So, anyways, if you do want to post a salty comment on our YouTube channel, like, fucking please do it. I love it. I love reading them. They make me happy. If we could get to the point where people are doing it ironically, I would love that.
My goal for this podcast is that someone leaves a really, really scathing review on like YouTube or on iTunes or something, but it's still 5 stars.
Yeah, absolutely. If you do like the show, and you want to leave a review, consider making it mean. We don't care as long as it's 5 stars. Alternately, if you hate the show and you want to tell us to go fuck ourselves, why not just click?
There's
click
a space for you on
anyways.
YouTube.
Yeah, a space for you on YouTube. You could also do it on iTunes. Just make sure it's 5 stars. We don't care.
Yeah.
It really helps the show. Tell a friend. Tell your mom. Borrow their phone and just download every episode of the podcast onto their phone when they go to the bathroom at the bar. Because you can go to the bar now. Bars are open.
Oh,
Nature is
crazy.
healing. I think that's all the things.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be back next month on Friday the 13th. Look out for it. Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. One of the weirdest sequels in that franchise. And fuck, there's some weird ones, but that one might take the cake.
Looking forward to it.
So. Oh, fuck, me too, bud. So yeah, that was it. Really enjoyed talking Psycho 2 with you, man. This was a fun one. I don't know if it was like funny, but it was like
we actually had a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
We really needed to break this movie down and figure it out.
Yeah. We had like a film analysis discussion, which I don't have very often. So that's fun. Usually it's just like, oh God, why did we watch it?
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, check out Psycho 2 if you feel so inclined. And until next time, I'll keep watching crap.